thought flow ceases. What happens to the denominator now? The denominator will become, one desire becomes zero, the thoughts have come to zero. Anything divided by zero, in mathematics, it's undefined, but you will be catapulted to a state of infinity. That is the logic behind capturing infinity. Today's topic will be the logic behind capturing infinity. Before we get into that topic, let me quickly summarize what we discussed on human goals. So we said only a human being can set a goal because it possesses the unique faculty of intellect. And all human beings entertain innumerable desires, and those desires are categorized into four types or four category of goals. The first one is the minimum necessity goals, the goal of security, wherein every human being goes after food, clothing, shelter and health. The next level of goal human beings set, we talked about goal of comforts, wherein we go for entertainment, luxury, etc. And the third type of goal I was talking about goal of invisible subtle wealth. What happens is a person's adult life is predominantly determined by how his upbringing, his first 5 years of life, right? So there are certain actions he does in this life that will get him luck or fortune, etc., which helps him in achieving goal number 1 and goal number 2. And we briefly talked about theory of reincarnation, so that this particular aspect of acquiring invisible subtle wealth can be understood. And this particular invisible wealth and childhood, reincarnation, all that will be discussed in detail when I'm going to take the class about causation principles, that we are going to talk in much detail. And some people would, in the back of the mind, they would think, oh, he's talking about karma. Correct. But what happens? Karma, the word karma is highly commercialized. Of course, this whole approach I'm going to do is in English. I'm trying to reduce words like yoga, these three words, karma, yoga, meditation. Highly commercial, both in the East and in the West. So you will see in the picture what kind of commercialization it has taken into. And now we also saw all these three goals comes with pain, sorrow, dissatisfaction, bondage, attachment, etc. Then we discussed about the fourth and primary goal of you, particular 10 million intellects, that's capturing infinity, who have set this as a goal. So when you pursue, we discussed when you pursue this goal, what will happen is you will be free from all the ignorance with regards to all the scientific problems on time, space, causation, creation, infinity as such. Remove your ignorance will be removed. When you are ignorant, you will have doubts. The doubts will be removed. Plus, you already know many things, so you will have a lot of misunderstandings. Misunderstandings will be removed. That apart, because this is also a serious pursuit, so you will be relatively free or from the problems caused by the goal 1, 2, and 3. What are the problems that it can give is the pain and sorrow, dissatisfaction, and the bondage. You will be free from that as well. And your efficiency will improve so much, and your action will become more elegant. There will be dexterity in your action, and this will be a phenomenal improvement in your efficiency. And finally, you will capture infinity. That's the main achievement that you will do. That is capturing infinity. That goal you will be able to achieve. Now, one small point for you all. Before I get into this topic, logic behind capturing infinity. Now, I declared that you all have relatively a stronger intellect. So there is a natural tendency, like when I presenting different points, you will start thinking parallelly. What you will do, because you are thinkers, where as I speak, as I present different points, you would bring in what you know already. And as I speak, you will start comparing, and so many questions are going to come. I'm sure you will have so many questions. But what happens, as it is, I'm not from a native English speaking country. My English is not as good as the Western English, So you will have to pay a little more attention when I speak, and this video is available forever, and you can pause. You can note down your questions. And end of these particular study classes, you will shoot all your questions. Most of your questions will be answered, but nevertheless, when you have a lot of questions, I am going to answer all those questions. So stop parallel thinking and try and make a note of your questions. Pause the video, make a note of your questions, and then proceed. Fine. Now, let's go to the topic. As we all know, the mind is the seat of your desires and emotions, and the unit of one desire is a stream of thought flow towards one object or a being. That is unit of one desire. And that particular desire, as I said, it can be a steady stream, controlled stream like laminar flow, fluid mechanics, or it could be turbulent thoughts. If you entertain multiple desires at the same time and you have time constraint, so the thoughts go helter-skelter. So the thought flows are turbulent in nature. And both the mind and intellect are the basic building blocks are thoughts. Also your memory. Memory, the building blocks are thoughts. All your experiences are stored in the form of thoughts in your memory. And the ego is also in the form of thought. So these four together constitute a term which I described earlier called subtle body. The mind made of thoughts, the intellect made of thoughts, memory made of thoughts, ego made of thoughts. So these four constitute the subtle body. What is gross body? This physical body that is made of gross matter. So this is the physical body, and what drives the body to act is the subtle body. And the hierarchy in the subtle body, intellect sits on top. Intellect supposed to control the mind, and the mind will direct the body to act. Now, if you observe in goal 1, goal 2 and goal 3, people set different goals. They go towards it. Some achieve, some don't achieve. But in essence, what is the underlying want in achieving all the first 3 kind of goals? What everybody wants to achieve? Many of you would know. The underlying factor that all the human beings want to achieve is to be more happy than the existing condition, the existing state of happiness or existing state of agitations, whatever may be. From that level, by achieving the different goals, the human being want to be more happy than what he is currently now. So, if you want to quantify his level of happiness in terms of percentage, so what you can think of, I know desires are abstract, it's in your mind, but you all thinkers, you can stretch your intellect and project a formula for happiness, how much percent anybody would be happy at a given point in time? What formula that you can devise? I have given the factors. Factors are desires. When one of his desires is fulfilled, he will be a little more happy than what he was earlier, isn't it? So, if you want to give a formula, percentage of happiness equals the total number of desires entertained at a given point in time. That comes where? In the denominator. And what will be the numerator? The total number of desires already fulfilled or achieved into 100 gives the percentage. Now, for any human being, at all the time, if you see, the denominator is dynamic, keeps on changing. The total number of desires he entertained when I say given point in time of his life, but he keeps on adding more and more desires. And what else he does? He keeps on earning money, earning other resources to fulfill the denominator, so that he keeps on increasing the numerator. So that he want to increase the level of percentage of happiness. But most time what happens? We are going to study. You are all smart. So how to increase the percentage of happiness? Most of the common man would keep on earning money to fulfill the numerator. Number of desires keep on fulfilling. Now, naturally, you are all thinkers, mostly mathematicians, scientists. So, to increase the percentage, another easier approach is what? Attack the denominator. If you target the denominator, the number of desires entertained, by any means, without making an effort, if you can reduce the denominator, the numerator will already fulfilled. So the percentage shoot up progressively, right? And now, what is your fourth goal? You want to seek the infinite, capture the infinite. So that's a very, very subtle desire, noble desire. Only a few people in the world pitch that desire. Moment you want to capture the infinity, in the earlier case for a common man, the numerator is a very dynamic variable, the denominator is very dynamic variable. So it's always constantly dynamic, the situation of a common man. Moment for you, smart intellects, what happens? You will change the situation of a constantly dynamic mind, and you will come to a situation of a dynamic constant. In the sense, you have pitched infinity, capturing infinity as the highest goal. The moment you pursue that, your personality becomes steady. That's what I meant. You will be dynamic in achieving infinity. So that's why from a state of constantly dynamic mind and intellect, your personality will become a dynamic constant factor in the pursuit. So now, as we are going to approach and find out the logic behind capturing infinity, take a slice of a particular lifetime of an individual. If you can see in this picture, I will give an example. It's an arbitrary number. Whatever number that I am going to say is not specific to any individual. Just an example. Consider he have 1,000 desires entertained, right? And he has the resources and capacity to fulfill 600 of those at this point in his life. So 600 divided by 1,000 into 100. His percentage of happiness is 60%. Now you all know the logic. Either you make some effort to reduce the denominator and spend some resources and fulfill some of the entertained desire and increase the numerator. So you can see from this picture how a person adds up a desire, and when he uses his resources, fulfills it, he feels happy. But in real, he only goes to a state which he was already there before. Now, if you look at this slide, earlier he had 1000 desire and he fulfills 600, 60% happy. Now you make some effort, that is primarily by knowledge or any, which we are going to discuss. You will see red star, 4 stars. By effort, somebody from 1000 he reduces to 700. So he knocks off 300 desires without making any effort in terms of fulfilling it by other means. What are the other means? We are going to discuss later. By other means, he reduces from 1000 to 700. He knocks off 300 desires by certain practices. That's what we are going to discuss in positioning and methodology of the personality. We will discuss how to reduce this without trying to earn money, spend more time in terms of fulfilling. Without fulfilling, how to reduce the denominator. Say, for example, from 1000 he had reduced to 700. And earlier he had fulfilled 600, the same person. And he spent some resources and he fulfills another 50 desires. So what happened? Before he was 60% happy. Now his happiness level shoots up to 93%. It's a great arithmetic progression. Continue that. This is again, remember, this is an example. Use this example and try to fit in your own personality. Now I am giving the experience of an imaginary man. From 700, again by effort, if he brings the denominator to 675, and he has money, he's smart, he has some resources, so he spends some money and other resources, he fulfills another 20 desires, for example. So what happens to his percentage? 670 divided by 675. He is 99% happy. Extend that further. I'm sure now most of you are trying to visualize what I'm trying to get to. So when the situation is 670 divided by 675, what does it imply? He has only 5 desires. It's a very, very, very high state. At that high state, high mental state, higher level of happiness, at that stage again, the denominator is 675. He has some resources. He fulfills the numerator. He increases the numerator. 674 fulfilled. So 674 divided by 675 into 100, 99.99% happy. So what is he left with? One desire. What could be the one desire? Can you guess? Yes, you all got it right. The one desire is that goal that he had set, capturing infinity. That will be the last desire he will be having. How can a person will have one desire, capturing the infinity, and not have anything else? What state he could be? As I said, when a person has 5 desires, he is in a very high state. If he has one desire and that one desire is only to capture infinity, what happens? Now you may visualize his state of mind and intellect. What we saw? One desire, stream of thought flow towards an object or being. Now, if this person is having one desire to capture infinity, what will be his state of mind? A continuous thought flow towards capturing infinity. For how long? It will be a steady thought because he have no other desires. So right from the time he wakes up till he goes to bed, his one thought will be towards capturing infinity. Is this possible? This is what they teach in meditation. What is meditation? Now briefly, we are going to discuss in detail about meditation later. Now, I have brought you to a state where an individual's one desire is to capture the infinity. Means he doesn't have no other desire. So throughout the day, he is sitting with one stream of thought towards one object. That one object is capturing infinity. Now listen to this definition of meditation. Meditation keeps the mind in a single thought to the exclusion of all other thought under the constant supervision of the intellect. And this is the last desire. This is meditation. Now you try and fit this in the meditation. Many people have heard about meditation. Many people have taught meditation. Many people have done meditation in your life. How long you are able to hold a single thought to the exclusion of all other thought under the supervision of intellect. Now you see that and continue it for a long period of time. So, what can we conclude from this? You can only do meditation when the level of your desires are brought down to the barest minimum. Only then you will be capable to meditate for a sustained period of time. In other words, you will be meditative. You don't need to put an effort to meditate because you don't have other desires. But meditation is a huge business now. They teach you do meditation for 10 minutes. Of course, it gives you temporary peace, temporary calmness. But you thinkers, 10 million, wanting to capture infinity, and this is meditation. Again, as I said, we are going to discuss in depth about meditation in the coming classes. Now, many of you will ask, how is it? Earlier I criticized with superfluid, superconductors trying to achieve zero resistance, zero viscosity. I was poking fun at the scientist. Now you might want to poke fun at me. How are you able to achieve zero thoughts? If you can bring from the level of 1000 desires to 5 desires, you have made an effort. The same effort you can continue. Now, coming back to that last one desire, a steady stream of thought flow towards infinity will be the last desire. I will give you an example. You all engineers, thinkers, you know the tensile strength testing of a rod or a malleable wire. What they do is, from both sides, they will keep on stretching. What happens? The diameter at the center slowly reduces as you keep on stretching. So the effort is on stretching. There is no effort to cut the steel wire. But what happens? The diameter gradually reduces in the center if equal forces are applied on both ends. At one point when you stretch, the steel wire snaps. So the effort from your side is continue with the stretching. Bring to the last thought, last desire. Continue with that single thought and stretch that single thought for a sustained period of time. At one point in time, that thought will snap. When that thought snaps, your thought flow ceases. What happens to the denominator now? The denominator will become, one desire becomes zero. The thoughts have come to zero. Anything divided by zero, in mathematics, it's undefined. But you will be catapulted to a state of infinity. That is the logic behind capturing infinity. Now, again, this is only the logic. I'm only describing the logic. There is a lot to learn on this. But for you to give that impetus, for you to understand what is the logic behind, I have spilled the beans straight away. Now, to illustrate this further, if you all have smartphone, go to the calculator. You use 1 divided by 0.1 becomes 10. 1 divided by 0.01, 100. 1 divided by 0.00001. The value is enormous. Extend that. That is the last thought, last desired stream of thoughts. You bring down to a single thought. So you can equate it as if it's 0.000001 as the denominator. Your happiness level as it is will go multifold. When that becomes 0, you are pushed to infinity. So the logic is very simple. Explanation, I don't know whether I made it simple for you. It will be extremely simple if you are at a very high state. So how fast you can capture infinity depends on where you are. It's a journey, it's a goal. So to achieve any goal depends upon what is your current situation. In this case, the main bottleneck is the number of desires you currently entertain. And how fast you can drop those desires, it's entirely in your hand. It's entirely in the way that you strengthen your intellect, control your mind, and make the denominator as less as possible and as quick as possible. So it's in your hand. And this capturing infinity, as I said, you can make it easy, you can make it difficult, but it's a you have to do it very systematic, consistent effort, and you have to do it for a sustained period of time, following the methodology and positioning that I'm going to discuss at a later stage. And this methodology and procedures will help you to systematically reduce the denominator and intelligently fulfill the numerator. And in mathematics, division by 0 is undefined, but in this case of the observer is you. You are the one who are trying to capture the infinity. So it boils down to your thoughts becoming 0. In which case, we already saw the subtle body constitutes of the mind, intellect, memory, and ego. So ego also made of thoughts. So when you drop all your desires, when your denominator becomes 0, your ego becomes 0 as well. There is no ego. When there is no ego, you don't attribute any individuality to yourself. Again, now I have opened the Pandora box. But what happens when your desire becomes 0 is, the bottom line is, you have catapulted to infinity, both quantitatively and qualitatively. So friends, by declaring how the logic behind capturing infinity, more than kind of educating, I have opened the Pandora box amongst the set of thinkers. You will have again lot of questions. Then you would think, when my thoughts become 0, what happened to the individual? What will happen to me? I'll be alive or instantly I'll be dropped dead? Because it has something to do with the consciousness. Again, the question about consciousness, I'm deliberately not talking now. There will be a separate study class for consciousness. There will be there. Then there will be other questions. Because it is infinity. It's like transcending time, space, and causation. Then you will ask, whether I am going to singularity. We will discuss that. Then some people will, again, comparing. Is it like that Interstellar movie? What this guy, when he goes to the black hole, is it that kind of where he crosses beyond time? Those kind of questions. Or I will travel like a astral travel, or like a Superman, or I will be able to float. Will I be born again? Again, I will have to go through the life cycle of birth and death. After catapulted to infinite, will that happen? Is it ever possible to achieve 0 desire, 0 thoughts? All these numerous questions are there. Keep those questions with you. Next, until now, this is like, as I said, I am spilling the beans. The highest truth, I have declared it in the beginning. From the next chapter onwards, we are going to do of course, I believe what I have discussed till now is systematic, but from the next class onwards, it will be little too basics for some of you, but endure during those classes. At the end of the study classes, I'm sure most of your questions will be answered.